What's up, guys? Welcome to Life Knowledge. My name is Justin Alphabet. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe down below. Stay to the end of the video so you get all the information that you need. Today we're going to be talking about what your dad never taught you about emotions. It's no secret that a lot of parents are split up these days. I think there's something like, a 46% divorce rate or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but it's a high percentage because a lot of people jump into marriage, they have kids, and then, they fall out of love and they don't prioritize the relationship or whatever it might be. And so a lot of relationships fail because a lot of people don't have a couple key important things that they need to have for a relationship to work. And a couple of those things are having to do with emotions, right? When you start a relationship with someone, your emotions are, all lovey-dovey and happy, and the dopamine is great, like you feel happy and fantastic and things are going really well. It lasts for about like 3 to 4 months, and then you have to start working on the longevity of the relationship, right? So if you get married within 3 to 4 months, that's bad news. Don't do that, because you never know when that dopamine or that love drug is going to expire, right? My first advice about emotions is to make sure you see someone in all seasons of their life. So like, for example, spring, summer, winter, fall. You see them through the good times, the happy times, the sad times, the difficult times, whatever it might be, right? Like, you see them during the sunshine and in the rain. That way you can tell and see how they're going to, hopefully see how they're going to deal with hard times and deal with good times, right? Are they going to deal with the good times and leave you behind? Are they going to deal with the bad times and leave you behind? Are they going to, be really horrible, have, bad attitude, whatever it might be? Are they going to cheat on you, blah, blah, blah? Like, there are all sorts of things you got to keep an eye open for because people are people, right? And a lot of that has to do with emotion. Our brains have two halves, is what scientists believe and psychologists believe, where there's a left side, which is the logical side, and a right side, which is a more emotional or creative side. And a lot of people are able to semi-control the logical side that deals with like writing, reading, math, numbers, logic, common sense, that kind of stuff. I wouldn't say everybody. I guess I take that back. There are many people that understand that. On the other half, there are a lot of people that are really good at creativity, colors, images, thoughts, ideas, that kind of stuff, like creativity and things like that. And the difference between these two is when you're young, you don't have to deal as much with the logic. Usually adults take care of the logical stuff, and for the most part, children are more creative and they're more focused on the creative side of life, right? And so as a young kid or as a young person, your parents might not get the opportunity to teach you how to control that emotional side of you as much. So two things that are the most important thing that you're going to need for a relationship that your dad probably never taught you is how to control your emotions. You see a lot of times nowadays where people or kids are raised by their mother and is in typically like a single family home, a single mother home. And that can be detrimental because they don't get to experience both halves to the masculinity and femininity. And so a lot of, young men aren't, understanding how to use their masculinity, and they're killing themselves. They're offing themselves because they don't have that full circle of their life where they can participate in both masculine and feminine energies, right? And that's not to say that's the only reason why that some people do this, but it's becoming more of a commonly known uh, factor into it, because a lot of men's testosterone levels are dropping, which is causing them to be unhappy, which is causing them to off themselves. And that's bad news, because men are starting, young men and anywhere from the ages of 20 to 50 are, giving up because they don't have the same levels of testosterone. And there's a couple, obviously, like I said, there's a couple different reasons. But what it all comes back to is emotions, right? Um, for whatever reason it is that they choose to off themselves, ultimately it means that they're feeling bad, right? They feel unwell, they feel not good. And so to reverse, and we ask ourselves, like, why do they not feel good, right? To use reverse psychology on that, you have to figure out the why, right? Like, there are several reasons testosterone levels are dropping. There are several reasons why they could be unhappy. One, the high levels of pornography nowadays that's out there in the world, that's lowering their levels of testosterone at all times, which causes them to go into chronic depression. Um, the lack of fathers in the home, which allows them to understand what masculinity is about, and healthy father figures as well. If there's a unhealthy father figure who beats people or doesn't know how to control his emotions, he's not going to be able to teach his sons and daughters how to do the emotional control as well. The overall lack of emotional control in life in general it's ruining people. A third thing is the lack of pain. And you might be wondering why I say that. And I told you I'd only say two things, but here's the third one. This is the lack of pain. I recently learned from Andrew Huberman, who's a psychologist. You can look him up. He's really interesting. He has a lot of good topics. That the amounts of dopamine are equally linked to the amount of pain that you can endure. So, for example, we are constantly flooding our dopamine systems, like with movies, TV, television, intercourse, pornography, constant stimulation of dopamine at all times. And so we are constantly like downing ourselves in dopamine, because the way that dopamine works is essentially like you get a high of dopamine, and then once that dopamine is depleted and you have like a good experience, a pleasurable experience is what you would call it, it then goes down below the baseline level, like, of happiness or just like contentment or normalcy in dopamine. Like, it dips below that line. And so it then has to then crawl its way back up and replenish itself. And that's the part of like a depression, sort of, right? Like, going below the baseline, the midline of normal dopamine levels means that you're going to be below happy or not happy or depressed, right? And so when you're constantly in that state from accessing so much dopamine over and over and over again, it'll feel like you're depressed, because you are doing things to yourself to deplete your dopamine so often instead of keeping it at a base level. And a way to keep it at a base level, the best way that he said, is to take cold showers or ice baths, because that regulates your autonomic system inside of your body, which allows you to stay more regulated towards that baseline, and allows your dopamine levels to rise out of the depths of depression, which is very interesting to think about, because like, it's not fun to be in a cold ice bath. It's not fun to take a cold shower. And so that's what I mean by pain, right? Allowing yourself to feel pain of coldness will raise your dopamine levels, which is kind of weird, because and I won't pretend I'm a scientist or a psychologist or anything like that. But it works, is what they're saying. Science has proven that this is one thing that helps you to feel better in life, is putting yourself through painful experiences, specifically cold therapy. And sometimes, physical exercise can help with that as well, and among other things. But if you are struggling with depression, if you're struggling with controlling your emotions, cold therapy is one of the best things you can do. Because if you think about it, say you plunge yourself into a cold bath, you have to control your mind, control your emotions, so you don't panic and just jump out of the water, right? You have to breathe. You have to stay calm. You have to hold your emotions and feel the feeling, and keep yourself in that ice bath or in that cold shower for as long as you can withstand it, or a certain set amount of time. He said 3 to 10 minutes is a really good set time. I usually do it for about like 1 to 2 minutes. I don't have a ton of time. I might make more time for it, but I do it every day. So I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but it definitely helps, is what I've noticed. There's this sort of euphoric feeling that you feel after you do a cold shower, and it's kind of like you feel better, you feel good. It's hard to explain, but it hurts at first, but then if you feel better afterwards. And um, I might sound like a masochist, like someone who likes pain or whatever, by saying that, but whatever, sue me. Um, but it works, and so what works. And um, if you're having struggles with controlling your emotions, that's one of the best ways that you can do it. If you can be around masculine men that can be a father figure to you, that's also another way that can help you as well with emotional control. There are a lot of men out there who've discovered these things, and they've put themselves through pain or difficult situations to, because that's a lot of what masculinity is. You have to put yourself through painful situations, because the opposite is comfort, right? And comfort is femininity typically. And so embracing the pain, and letting yourself do hard things and allowing yourself to do those hard things can make you feel much better in many ways. Another thing about these chemicals in our brains, serotonin is the drug of like goal setting or achievement, right? So when you achieve small goals or you do hard things, you also get a hit of serotonin, which makes you want to go out and conquer the world even more, and get more done and have more motivation. And so achieving things helps in that way as well. So getting a cold shower done will make you feel an achievement as well. And so with these problems in emotional control, your dad may or may not have been around. There are other men out there who can teach you these things. Some of them on YouTube. Some of them, I think there's this guy named something Creek. There's a ranger school that he has or something. Type in like Ranger Creek School. Older man, gentleman, I don't know his name exactly, but he has a lot of very good wisdom and advice that I listen to sometimes, that he, has been around the block and he knows what's what. So he's lived on a ranch his whole life, and or most of his life. And people like that, they know hard work. They know masculinity. They know how to get through difficult times and do hard things. And so, great advice from him. Look around your community, see what kind of guys you can watch and listen to that can have some positive, healthy, masculine advice as well. Because sometimes if your dad's not around, you can't, learn emotional control. And emotional control is everything as a man. When you have great power, you have great responsibility. That's from Spider-Man, obviously, we know that. But with power, you have to be able to control that power. If you have, as a man, you have a lot of power, physical power, right? And so you have to be able to regulate that power and have complete control over that power, so you don't hurt the people that you love. If you've ever heard the true story of Hercules, not the Disney version, the true story of Hercules, the story of Hercules kills his entire family. Like, he's strong and he's unable to control his strength. And so because he kills his family, he has to repent or have a penance or something. And his penance is killing the Nemean lion and all these beasts all across the land. That was his penance for killing his own family, because he couldn't control his strength. And whether Hercules is a true story or not, it's a good example. It's a good example in self-control and in controlling your anger and controlling your sadness, your emotions, and being able to have self-control in your masculinity. It's not something that you have to fear if you can control it. And our deepest fear is that we are powerful, all of us. Every single person has their own type of power, and a lot of people fear their own power. So this is a way that you can learn how to not be as afraid and control your own power. So thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, comment them down below. I hope you have the day you deserve. Let's level up, and I'll see you in the next one.